Hello and welcome to another episode of Tai'Shar Manethrin, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am Will.
I'm Sam.
And we are talking today about the latest news to come out about the TV show. This past Wheel of Time Wednesday was a pretty big one.
Yeah, bigger than the last one.
Yeah. Last time, of course, we found out Michael McLaughlin was playing Thom, and it was kind of underwhelming because, we kind of guessed that. But this time we got four new cast. Sam, what's the one that you're most excited about?
It was cool to see that we are, in fact, getting Thom Maryland.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's the one, though, I had the most reaction to, I would say, probably is Logain.
If our listeners, for some reason, haven't seen this yet, and I may not pronounce everybody's name correctly, I'm sure we'll all find out later. Playing Thom Maryland is Alexandre William. He's a Danish actor who has not done a ton of stuff that is in big English-speaking kind of roles. I think the most recognizable thing he's been in, he was kind of a henchman in Tomb Raider.
He's in The Last Kingdom, which I have not seen.
Yes, but he has a lot of stuff on his resume. It's just that a lot of it is he's either smaller parts or it's things that a lot of us haven't seen, and a lot of it's not in English. So he definitely has experience, and I really like his look for it.
I do too.
I'll tell you, one of the things that I kind of was railing for in the discussions was Thom not being portrayed as some super old guy. There was a lot of folks that were saying, oh, Thom is an old man, and it doesn't actually say in his description early on that Thom is old. It just says he's white-haired, and he will refer to himself as old. But I picture him more as maybe a little past his middle years, as Robert Jordan likes to say. So instead of having somebody who's like super old playing him and having a stunt double come in every time he's got to do a fight scene or whatever, I like the fact that they have a guy who will be spry and able-bodied.
Yeah, and I'm looking at a picture of him from, I assume this is from The Last Kingdom, and he looks pretty gnarly. I mean, he's got like, they've doctored him up with like scars on his face and stuff, and so there's no telling what they can do with makeup to make him look just old enough where, he can turn a backflip, but people will still say something about him, dandling a young woman on his knee or whatever.
Right. That's Thom, and I actually really loved what Rafe said when he began posting these. Rafe's comment about Thom began with, "Ye of little faith."
Love it.
He was concerned because all throughout the internet, all of the big-time fans were very concerned.
Thought we were going to cut Thom.
Yeah, what they were considering to be a very real possibility that Thom would be cut. Sure. I heard that reasoning and I understood.
Yeah, they talked themselves into it.
Exactly. Well, and I actually kind of appreciate it because I think what they were trying to do is prepare themselves for the possibility that...
Yeah, because the reality is the show is going to have to make choices because these are huge books. There's 15 of them. So, it's a game that will have to be played at some point, so sure, why not?
Exactly. Thom's a fan favorite, though, and I just couldn't see them cutting him.
No.
And not just because I like him, but really, I really was thinking, I don't think they want that immediate backlash right at the start.
I think he has the potential to be an excellent Thom. Certainly has a look. I want to see 100% more mustache, though.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get the mustaches right, because there's a lot of... And him knuckling them on occasion.
Right, yeah.
Exactly what knuckling his mustaches means,
I look forward to finding out.
Right. I'm curious myself.
Reminds me of Henry Cavill was talking about he didn't care about the Snyder cut, but he just mainly misses his mustache. Superman mustache.
Yeah.
It wasn't there.
Man, who cares about the Snyder cut? I'm sorry.
I don't either.
Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
I would love to have seen the movie with Superman's mustache intact, but that's...
Yeah, actually, that would be a very interesting take on it.
This is totally related. We're talking about mustaches.
Yes. Now, you mentioned Logain. Logain is one of those characters that I really hope that they expand on some. I really want to see his arc.
So I got to thinking about this. This sounds like this might be one place where you and I disagree.
Okay.
I got to thinking about this. So when I saw the announcement, my first thought was, okay, why are we not getting an announcement for someone like, say, Min or Elaine?
Okay.
You know, like, these are characters that are definitely in the first book, major characters, important. Logain is almost not in the first book at all. He's mentioned a lot. He appears in basically what's a cameo in Camelin. So if Logain is being cast and is going to have a speaking part, either the books themselves are going to be kind of, the story is going to be mixed up a little bit in terms of just the way scenes are placed, or what seems more likely is that it's what you said, Logain's story will be expanded. Here's my problem with that. Like I was saying a minute ago, there's so much content in these 15 books. I don't really want any new content. Like, or I don't want a whole new side story for Logain, because when you get that, you'd have to have it would essentially have to spawn either other side characters or characters that we know would have to be brought into those scenes, like, I don't know, maybe Elida or something, which, you could see that happening. And I grant you, it could be interesting to see Logain be stilled, to see, to see the Red Aja take him down, or to see him win his battle in Gildan or wherever it was. All that could be interesting, but I personally don't want that stuff. I don't want new stuff like that added to the show when there's so much stuff they have to do already. Like, there's so many, so much to it. Like, it's a real question as to whether or not they could ever get through the whole series. And so anything that's like perceived as filler is the wrong word, but just additions extra, like that, extra is just, it's not what I personally want.
Sure. And I totally get where you're coming from. I wouldn't want them to expand it to the point of manufacturing things that are not at all in the book. I guess what I'm seeing are just the scenes that are happening off stage, and I don't even think they need to be long. I guess more what I'm seeing, particularly in the early seasons, just kind of a quick depiction of him being captured, for example.
Sure. And that would be acceptable. And I think they've even said that he and maybe one other will be guest stars. Like, they're already designated as guest stars. So it does seem maybe more likely what you're suggesting is the type of situation we'll get.
Yeah, I'm not saying let's make up things that aren't in the books. Really, I guess I like Logain's character, particularly as we get down to the end, and I think to properly have the gravitas that we'll want by that time, we'll want to spend some time with him that maybe might not be explicit in the books, but at the same time, there's, like you say, he's mentioned a lot, and so using good screen economy, we could be basically telling things that are in the books visually by just showing.
Yeah, I can certainly see that being true, and I think that there is a way to do it that's like you're saying will not take away from the scenes that need to happen in the books, but can just add that, just like you said about the beginning of Lord of the Rings, where all those scenes weren't there, but it really did add to the audience's understanding, and that sort of approach I think would be good. Could work well.
Yeah, you don't need to add an enormous amount of time, but like you're saying, I mean, you could establish Elida very quickly without spending a lot of time. You could establish him and set up a little bit more of a definite he would hate Elida kind of thing. And just have them have a quick exchange and check in with him for 60 seconds of screen time for the first few episodes. And then later on, when he shows up, he makes eye contact with Rand. It has a little bit more weight to it.
Yeah, it's not just some random dude in a cage. Yeah.
Right.
I can get behind that approach. And it would potentially be cool to see the actual battle to see this man using the one power who is destined to go insane, before Rand gets any evidence of that, like, because there will be a good amount of time there where no man will channel otherwise. So you can see that being a way to sort of demonstrate this concept that the books don't have early on.
And I'm just hopeful that the show is so successful that they're wanting to add plenty of seasons on the back end to depict every last second of the last 3 books.
I hope so. Yeah, I would love that.
In that, I would mind not a whole lot of inventing a whole lot of things. That's where I could see Logain's role just a little bit more expanded, just to give us a little bit more of explaining what's going on in his head and his arc. We do have a few perspective chapters of him in the last trilogy, and I would really like to just see those given proper attention, even though he doesn't have many. So that's really what I mean. He's one of those characters that you could easily think, well, he's kind of in the background, because he is. Yeah. I wouldn't mind him just being visually brought a little bit more to the foreground. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's like a general point in my mind. And it's something that Game of Thrones did incorrectly, I think, some, and others have certainly done that. I don't want to see the show veer away from the books, because the books, it's they're good. We think they're good. And there's so much source material. Just that's enough. Let's adapt that. Maybe expand a little bit here and there, but not don't add characters, for crying out loud. I mean, there's thousands of characters. Just use those. It's just gets back to the Star Wars thing, throwing out the expanded universe. Come on, there's dozens and dozens of books. You're just gonna throw all that out and make new stuff. I mean, nothing wrong with the new stuff, but I like the old stuff.
Well, as we've talked about Logain this whole time, we haven't mentioned that it's Alvaro Morte.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's great. I like his look, for sure.
Yeah, he's a Spanish actor. He's done a ton of work in Spain. Not as much in not Spain.
Was in the Money Heist on Netflix,
right?
Which is that's a Spanish language thing.
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's probably the most recognizable thing that he's been in. But yeah, his look to me is perfect. He's the right age. He's got kind of a little bit of a world weariness to him that I think is necessary, but also I think he can capture that a guy that you kind of want to trust. They describe Logain as being dark and handsome, and feel like he'll nail that character.
In looking through these cast announcements, it sort of drives home that not a lot of American faces here. Daniel Henney may be the only one, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so far, I think.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's funny because it is an American production with an American showrunner and American directors and everything. But yeah, no, I think that's to be expected. I mean, it's
true. I would say
similar to Game of Thrones, actually. Speaking of, since we've already broached that. Today, we brought up Johan Myers, or I'm assuming it's Johan and not Johan, because he was in the table read video.
Oh, right.
Right. He's the dark-skinned fella, looks kind of Middle Eastern. He's British, got a very intense look about him. And
I think he'll do well as Padan Fain.
Very excited about him playing the very creepy.
He's kind of has that gaunt look.
Yeah.
Works well.
He's thin, and I love even photos of him smiling.
Yeah,
he has kind of a creepy kind of smile too.
Right.
I'm excited about him. He was not as big a surprise because we actually saw his face. I will say that Alexandre, the fellow playing Thom, a lot of people had suspected that he was going to be in it because he had been posting on social media about going to Prague. I think he may have even hashtagged Wheel of Time in something that he later took down.
Whoops.
Cat was a little out of the bag for him. I think I heard some people said that they expected Alvaro Morte, and then of course we saw Johan. But the one that was really a total surprise, I feel like, all the way around.
Oh yeah.
Without a doubt,
Loial.
Yeah. I think, a lot of people hadn't even really had the discussion on whether or not would expect to actually see Loial in the first season, if they would, they might shuffle him off to the side, wait till the next season, or now, obviously he's an important character, but how are they going to handle him? He's much more high concept fantasy than a lot of the Wheel of Time is, because he's a big giant puppy dog man thing. But just delighted to have him cast. Hamed Animation. Looks like his name is almost spelled like animation.
It does look like that. That's funny.
I found an interview with him, and he says it like animation or something like that.
Gotcha. British guy.
Yep, big fella, and just really excited about seeing him in that role. He's one of the comments that somebody made, I think, on either our Facebook page or where we posted about this. They said he's got a good-natured expression.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And there's something about him that, yeah, I can totally see him playing Loial when they talk about his wide grin and things like that. I feel like he's got the right look for that, and I'm excited to see him in that role.
We need to hear his Loial voice.
Right. Is it going to be like a bumblebee? Oh, Perrin, best not to anger the Aes Sedai.
Exactly.
Those are the main announcements. As far as little bits and pieces that have come out here and there, one of the things that actually I think may have been out since before the last time that we spoke that I just neglected to bring up is that there are a handful of other cast names that have been leaked. We did more or less get confirmed. Juliet Howland, who's in the read-through video, is playing Matt's mother.
Oh, okay.
Natty Cawthon. And then Christopher Scurif going to be playing Abel Cawthon. It looks like that's not official, but it seems like that based off of what has come out. It sounds like that's likely.
I could see that. Yeah, I just looked him up. I could see that.
Now here's the one though that gets a little crazy, and you were talking about inventing characters. There was a young blonde woman at the table read that we weren't able to identify. It looks like that is Helena Westerman. And she was briefly on her online CV listed as playing a character in the Wheel of Time called Layla Abara. She's too young to be Perrin's mother.
So a sister then.
Well, but she's very white.
Oh.
So it brings up some questions. The prevailing theory that I really don't believe is true because I don't see how it could be, but it some people claim that they've read it other places. I can't find it from any reliable source, but is that Perrin is going to have a wife at the beginning of this.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah. We really hope that that's not true because it just would kind of things up with his and Fail's relationship later. But, hey, we'll try our best to give it a shot. If that's the case, I just really hope it's not.
Amen, yeah. That would be strange. A strange choice.
Then we also have a fella named Daryl McCormick who is playing something, but we don't know what yet. And I think we've mentioned the other folks that are possibilities. Nana Agei Ampadu, I think I mentioned when we talked about the table read a couple months ago.
Yeah.
We still don't know who she's playing. Likely just somebody in the Two Rivers. Those are kind of the status of the cast as we know it, kind of newest stuff. And really, I was just so excited to see those 4 announcements because, Thom and Loial are just some really fun characters. And Logain is such a cool character. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing these people depict those characters. And looking at Rafe's comments on all of them, here he says about Hamad, Loial's always been a character that I was excited and terrified about because of how perfect the actor has to be to pull off what's required. Hamad is so good that when his first audition came through, every single producer on the show emailed back within 5 minutes that he was the one.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome.
He said Johan was actually the very first shot of the show. That's the Padon Fain actor. Riding his cart into the Two Rivers. And the way he stepped off that cart and took in the town will make you smile and shiver simultaneous in a way only Padon Fain can.
Good.
He says, I am in love with Alvaro Morte. I cried real human tears in my office when I watched his performance of his first scene. He's going to break you, is the way that he puts it. So
wow,
that's exciting. It's exciting to hear a showrunner be excited about what he's doing.
I can't wait till we get a trailer. I know it's going to be a long time, but something.
Yeah, we're gonna break down the heck out of that trailer.
Yeah, we'll go shot by shot,
frame by frame. When are you talking about shot by shot?
That's what I meant to say.
we're gonna hit every one of those 24 frames per second. One of the other big pieces of news that people were making a lot over it. It's not that it wasn't big, but it I think there was more being made over what was said. It wasn't exactly a whole lot of crazy new information, but Brandon Sanderson posted a photo from the set, and basically his statement wasn't anything new. He says, "There's not a ton I can tell you here, I'm afraid. I'm not deeply involved in the production itself. I think they may have made me a producer, but my actual role is something more akin to a script consultant. I read the scripts, then offer feedback to Rafe, the showrunner. I've been very impressed with Rafe, and during my visit to set in Prague last month, I found the production to be very high quality. The sets looked great, the acting was on point, and the shots they were filming while I was there looked excellent. I've liked the scripts too, though they are changing some things from the books. Some changes I agree with 100%. Some I find a little more uncertain." Yeah.
Don't like to hear that.
Yeah. "I had the set photographer take some shots of me while I was there, alongside some pieces of the set. But we've had a devil of a time getting approval from all the necessary people to show them. My assistant is still working on those, so if we have them by some miracle by the time this goes out, he'll post links in there. Otherwise, we'll get them to you as soon as we can." And there's one single photo of him. It's a night shot. Now, what is interesting is, of course, the internet being the internet, they very quickly dug into the metadata on that photo and found out that, as would be the case on most production stills, there's actually a fair amount of information that the photographer left behind. Now, I think that was on purpose. I actually don't think that they were doing anything they didn't know they were doing, because it's not like the information in there was super juicy. But the one thing it did reveal is that they were shooting the Taran Ferry crossing scene. All that to say, there's nothing new, really, that we get from that.
Right.
Brandon Sanderson had already said that, hey, there are some changes with the book, and just you're going to have to wait and see. And he's just saying, once again, there are some changes.
Right.
And we'll just have to see. That's that. I hear your reaction. I tend to agree. When Brandon Sanderson said he's uncertain,
we'll see. We will cautiously withhold judgment, but just barely going to keep my pitchfork handy.
Yes. And he's the steward of the story and the absence of the original author. And if he tends to feel reticent about it, then that makes me uncertain. But the fact that he says that there are changes that he agrees with 100%. So
you would hope that any changes that he doesn't agree with are not things that will ruin anything. It just might be a minor quibble, or, if nothing else, something that the internet can hate, to focus their hate on.
I'm hopeful. And the fact that, of course, he just emphasized how good a quality the production is.
Oh, yeah. That goes a long way. I mean, that can overcome a lot.
Quality covers a multitude of sins. So there have been rumors of 2 more directors that have been mentioned. One of them seems pretty definite, partially because she actually posted something in #Wheel of Time before she, I assume, was told to take it down. And then later posted a photo of herself, and people zoomed in on the name badge she's wearing, and it seems pretty clear that there's a Wheel of Time logo on it.
Aha.
Her name is Sally Richardson Whitfield, and she's actually an actress that's been in a lot of television, but she's directed several things too, and this looks pretty certain that she is going to be directing at least one episode of The Wheel of Time. And then there's also a fella named Wayne Yip. Looks like he is likely to be a director on Wheel of Time. He's done episodes of Doctor Who, Preacher, Cloak and Dagger, and Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. So a lot of kind of quirky things. Mm-hmm. All right, so at the end of every episode, we always ask folks to contact us, and somebody actually did.
All right.
Yeah, we actually had somebody fill out the contact form that wasn't trying to sell us insurance. He and his daughter actually have their own podcast, and he said, hey guys, I love your podcast. I enjoy your way of thinking, your humor. He said, I hadn't listened to any Wheel of Time podcast ever until my daughter wanted to start one with me. It's called The Wheel of Mind.
Cool, let's check it out.
After a couple of months, he said he wanted to check out the competition. So far, he was so sweet. He said that ours is the only other one that he really enjoys.
Oh, dang.
He did say that Sam's ice and glass noises in the first episode almost turned him away. But he says, "But I'm glad I stuck with it."
Generally to the audience, apologize for the ice in the glass and any potato quality audio I have put forth. This is I am not a professional in any way, shape, or form. Although Will is sort of. So I'm learning as I go here.
I have a bit of an unfair advantage. We are both trying to increase the quality of what we're doing, definitely. And we appreciate everyone's patience with us when it comes to the audio quality, as it has been kind of up and down through these several episodes. We're hoping it'll level out.
Yeah.
He said that he might give us a shout out in a show in the near future if that's okay. And
awesome.
Of course it is, man. Please. We're shouting you out here, and I don't think I even asked your permission. So he said, anyway, keep doing what you do. And he said he thinks our fan base and listenership will explode once the show is released. And he ended by saying Tai'Shar Manethrin.
Well played.
His pseudonym on the show is Giskil Samaris. Again, their show's called The Wheel of Mind. You can find Lajara Dane on Twitter. That's Lajara Sadai is kind of their Twitter. That's his daughter, who is his co-host. And follow them. Giskil, he has got a real Southern accent. So if you appreciate a real Southern accent, then I think you will appreciate listening to The Wheel of Mind.
Heck yeah. We'll check that out.
So thank you once again for that lovely email. And I'm just proving to all of you that if you write us nice things, we will give you a shout out. Flattery will get you everywhere.
Absolutely. I was looking for our podcasts on Twitter the other day, and I don't pay close enough attention to Will when he says several times throughout each show what our Twitter handle is. It is not TSM Podcast. Just let me repeat that. It is not that. That is a podcast called Thriving Sexy Marriage.
Which I don't know your business. Maybe you need.
I may, yeah, very well, but that was not what I was looking for at that particular moment. So it is the opposite. Podcast TSM, not TSM Podcast.
Yeah. While our URL is tsmpodcast.com, after we made that, I went and couldn't get that same thing on all of social media.
It's taken.
So we have across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, it's all Podcast TSM.
Unless you want yourself a thriving, sexy marriage, in which case, go for it.
Maybe you do. I'm not.
Who doesn't?
No judgment here. I don't know, Ace or Arrow people, I guess. I posted a poll about this and saw responses. Then I asked the question on our Facebook page. I saw someone else post it in a Facebook group dedicated to Wheel of Time. I'm curious what you would think about this. Do you think that the show should be weekly serialized released, or should it be bingeable upon release?
Yeah, you and I talked about this briefly early on, and I think I started out more on the side of bingeable, but personally, I think I've come around to the idea of serialized once a week because of The Mandalorian, but also because of the Great British Baking Show. It was like it would come out every Friday, and it was just like something for my wife and I to look forward to sitting down and watching the latest episode of this relaxing television program. And so
exactly, yeah. Well, and I'll just be honest, it's perfectly selfish, but it's going to be way cooler for us to do a podcast every week about the new show.
True.
If
there's a new episode,
Yeah, if people haven't binged it all already. Mm-hmm. And we're not the only ones. I mean, there's a lot of folks producing content already about the Wheel of Time. I'm sure there'll be a lot more once the show starts. And that actually helps the show to gain traction. It helps it saturate the culture. And in turn, we'll get more viewership that way, I think.
I want to say that Carnival Row just released all at once, but I'm not sure about that because I wasn't watching it. I mean, I just caught it later. So I'm not sure. Maybe it did. Maybe it was. I don't know.
It did release all at once. Amazon has done both.
Right. That's why I was kind of hesitant to say that, because I knew they had.
And now Netflix is obviously, they've done some of both.
Yeah, they're dipping their toe in the water both ways as well. Yeah.
I read an article saying The Mandalorian was, and I don't know how they get these statistics, but the most successful streaming show so far.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Given the money they sank into it, if nothing else, and the fact that it launched Disney Plus. I mean,
granted, it has an enormous fan base waiting to jump on it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do feel like the fact that we're getting a show dropped every week, that we're getting people posting memes and posting reviews and posting each episode gets better once a week instead of cross 2 or 3 weeks. Stranger Things. Stranger Things was awesome, but
everyone binged it and it's like, all right, we talked about it for a day or two and that was it.
Right. It was basically gone within a week.
Right.
Versus having that period of, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? And yeah, if they make changes, especially, then it's like, oh, well, how's this going to affect this? And how's that going to affect this?
Right. And given the time and money being spent on this, it seems crazy to just drop it all at once. I mean,
exactly.
Certainly Netflix has done that and it's worked out well for them generally, viewership. But yeah, I would prefer to see them do once a week.
One of the things that I could see happening based off of when these cast announcements have taken place, I wouldn't be surprised if Thom shows up a little later.
Yeah.
Is one thing. And so, just that wouldn't be an enormous change and wouldn't be too bothersome. Mm-hmm. But it would also beg some questions like, oh, when is he going to show up?
Right. How are they going to introduce him? Yeah.
So, that's the kind of thing that I look forward to, and I really do hope that they decide to go with a weekly release. And it's a long time off yet, so...
Yeah, that's true. It's crazy, like a year and something, probably.
Yeah, we just haven't heard. We haven't heard how many episodes yet, still. So we're waiting to hear that info as it comes out. We're going to be continuing on with The Shadow Rising next week, and you may get one more week of Sam's audio sounding like a potato.
Yeah, sorry about that.
After that, though, we're hoping to have things pretty much smoothed out. As always, as I always say, we love to hear from you. You can email us at stuff@tsmpodcast.com. Visit our website and fill out our contact form, tsmpodcast.com. All over all of the social medias at Podcast TSM, as Sam discovered this week. So we would love to hear from you. We're on SoundCloud, too. And, of course, if you haven't discovered us somewhere on your favorite podcast stream, I don't know how you're listening, but we're on all of them pretty much. So we also appreciate you sharing it on your social media, giving us a like, giving us a recommendation, giving us a review, a rating. Any of that's helpful. And we also still have a survey on our website, again, tsmpodcast.com. You can fill that out if you want to anonymously tell us how bad we suck at this. Thanks for listening. And Sam?
Tai'Shar Manetheren.